I'm Felicia Tate, executive coach, HR exec, wife, mom, and founder of Tate 5 Consultant Agency. For over 20 years, I've helped leaders and organizations shape culture and transformation. But let's be clear, this isn't just another leadership podcast. Heart to Heart is where we get real. We talk about the messy, the avoided, and the necessary. The conversations that stretch us, shift us, and shape us. Here, life, leadership, and growth collide. If there is one thing I've learned, the hardest conversations are often the ones that change everything. Until next time, keep learning, keep showing up fully you. Hey y'all, welcome to episode 7, Faith and Flaws, Leading While Healing When God is Your Anchor. So this is about embracing the intersection of your faith, flaws, and your leadership. So let me tell you, y'all, I am a firstborn. I'm an eldest daughter of 6. I didn't ask for that. And I am definitely imperfect. I'm flawed. And I had to learn as a recovering people pleaser, slightly perfectionist, I can admit that, and say that I had to learn how to truly still learn how to be an effective leader, flaws and all. Has not been easy. I'll tell you, one of the spaces is being a mother. So being an eldest sibling, I didn't ask to be the example for my younger siblings. That's just my birth order, right? So I had to learn how I'm still a kid as well as they were as a kid. But a part of that is just really learning how to be imperfect, if you will. But a part of being a perfectionist and a people pleaser, I didn't know how to be flawed and still be a leader. I had to learn that along the way. And being a mom, absolutely. There is no manual that comes with motherhood. And if I can be honest, at 21, I did not want to be a mother. That's not what I saw for myself. However, God had other plans. The choices and decisions I made, I became a mom. And I can tell you that was and has been one of the hardest jobs I've had in leadership, because it hasn't been about just me and who I am and what I can do. It took a lot of faith. I had to really anchor myself to God and praying like, Lord, if this is the baby you want to come forward, I have to accept this. And I trust that you're going to lead me along the way. So when we talk about faith and flaws and leading from a place of God being my anchor, motherhood has been that. I really sat at the intersection of I'm flawed as a young woman. I'm flawed as, this person that necessarily didn't want to be a mom. But I knew enough to know to have faith in God and trust that I can still be impactful, effective, while God is still healing me in this journey and still showing up as a mother for this young kid. As the oldest daughter, having a child prematurely, I'll use that. It was God's time and not necessarily about mine. I had to accept that responsibility and making sure that my siblings knew, choices that I made were my choices, not necessarily the choices for them. But also learning that flaws are just what they are. We don't get to decide, where faith and flaws intersect. Understanding that God is going to use it all. I had to truly learn how to embrace that. And that is what's helped my leadership along the way. On a personal level, it wasn't always easy. It wasn't always, the perfect setup of being able to say to others, yes, I'm a 21-year-old mom, or I'm a single mom, and this is, easy. No. I can be honest and say that was not the conversation. It was a responsibility that I accepted, and I had to learn how to do it with my chin up and trust that, God is with me. He's going to walk me through this, and I had to do my work. What was my work? At the time, I had to make sure I took care of my son. A part of that was therapy. Therapy is not a new concept to me, but I think in this world that we live in, in the last 5 years, specifically during the pandemic, we learned a lot of more healing language, right? It became cultural norms to talk about it. But I would say for me, my relationship with God and having faith has always been my anchor. And so I had to learn that I could be healing and high impact. God didn't need my perfection. He needed my surrender. He needed my vulnerability. He needed me to be able to lean into a space that I trusted him. And so oftentimes, as leaders, we want to look at things without flaws, and that's not reality. And so what I would encourage any one of you that are out there and, there may be things in your life, whether it's similar to mine, maybe you became a parent early, maybe you're struggling in your mental health, but just trusting that wherever you are in that intersection of your faith and flaws and leadership, you are enough. God does not need your perfection. He needs your yes. He needs your surrender. That imperfection can still make impact. You can be both healing and high impact. You don't have to show up always put together. It's about your vulnerability. There is value in your vulnerability. Let me ask you this. Where are you disqualifying yourself for not being perfect enough? I want to encourage you as a leader that faith and leadership is intertwined. It's not separate. So whether it's becoming a parent, before you were wed or before you're ready, there's still purpose in that. Whether you are the eldest of your siblings and maybe you haven't set the right example all the time, or your choices and decisions, your flaws and that choice and decision you have made, it can still be used to help educate others. They can learn from you. And then it may just be who you are as a leader. Maybe your leadership style. Maybe you are a leader that's an introvert or extrovert, and you're leading people that have different leadership styles than you, and you don't know how to connect. It's not about being perfect. It's about being surrendered. It's about allowing your imperfection to be your leadership impact. Leadership is not about perfect. It's not about being without challenges. It's not about getting it right all the time. It's about being present. It's about being self-aware. It's about leaning into those flaws that you can heal and still make impact. I want to encourage you to embrace the intersections of your faith, your flaws, and your leadership. Don't get into the space of thinking that you need to have it all together. You need to have all the answers. Anchor yourself to who God has called you to be. He doesn't need your perfection. He needs your surrender. There is vulnerability when you choose to show up as you are right in this moment, messy and all, because we all have some messiness. I want to encourage you that you don't have to live separate, your flaws and your impact. Until next time, be kind to yourself, lead with intention, and don't run from hard conversations. Run to them. This has been Heart to Heart with Felicia Tate, where leadership meets life, raw, real, and unapologetically human. Don't just listen. Take what you've learned and lead with it. See you in the next episode.